There continues to be news surrounding Colin Kaepernick's pro day workout on Saturday. An NFL source told our Adam Schefter that the league never promised to provide a list of executives or coaches to Kaepernick's reps. Earlier, different sources told Schefter that Kaepernick's camp has been told they would receive such a list. Meanwhile, former teammate Eric Reid expressed his thoughts on how the league is handling the situation. Listen up.
It feels like the same play from the NFL. It feels disingenuous. They told Colin that he has an opportunity and that the league will send representatives from each team, but it's a Saturday before a game. Teams are traveling on Saturdays. What head coach or GM is going to be able to make this trip? My gut's telling me this is a PR stunt because they've done so many over the past couple of years. So I believe it when I see it. We'll see what happens.
Eric Reid with an interesting point about that Saturday workout. There are currently 8 teams expected to be in attendance at this workout. Stephen, I'll start with you. Are you optimistic or pessimistic about this Kaepernick situation?
Well, I'm optimistic about everything but listening to Eric Reid. I mean, I've gotten to the point where I would make a suggestion to Eric Reid. I think that Eric Reid should retire from the game of football effective immediately and come and work on First Take or for ESPN or somebody else because he seems to be a professional complainer. I mean, he's got a problem with everybody. He had a problem with Malcolm Jenkins, accusing him of co-opting the movement because Malcolm Jenkins was at the table spearheading an $89 million social justice agreement with the National Football League. He had a problem with Jay-Z and his partnership with the NFL, calling it kind of despicable, calling Jay-Z asinine for talk about that we're beyond kneeling, when in fact what Jay-Z was really saying is that it's not about kneeling. You can kneel if you want, you can protest if you want or whatever, but at some point in time, when are we going to advance past that and actually do something along the lines of what Colin Kaepernick said he wanted done? Eric Reid seems to have a complaint with everybody, whether it's me, it's Max, or anybody else. He has a complaint with everybody. But outside of kneeling, which, by the way, I appreciate him doing that because he's bringing attention to what vexes our community, the bottom line is that that's what you've done. Outside of that, all we know is that you're ready to complain simply because you think that Colin Kaepernick is being unjustifiably exiled from the NFL, which, by the way, if Eric Reid pays attention, we all feel that way. How many times do we have to say, Max Kellerman, Colin Kaepernick has been blackballed? Colin Kaepernick has been unfairly treated. Colin Kaepernick violated no laws, no any bylaws of the National Football League. He is an American citizen. There is no excuse for him not to have an opportunity to have a job in the NFL. I don't know whether something that Eric Reid's ears are clogged or whatever, but everybody's been screaming it to the high heavens for the past 3 years. Evidently, he hasn't heard us. Now let me get to this point about Colin Kaepernick and why I'm so optimistic. I've been told about 22 teams are going to show up Saturday. I have been told personally that about this morning that about 22 teams are going to show up in Georgia on Saturday for his workout. Now, if you Colin Kaepernick, I've also been told this, and I went on the air, Max, and I said this to you and Ryan Clark and Dominique Foxworth yesterday along with Molly. I have been told if this brother shows that he can still ball, because he has been away from the game for 3 years, he will get a job in the NFL. He will get a job in the NFL. And I believe it's going to be within the next 2 weeks. That's my personal opinion. I have been told he will get a job within the next couple of weeks. I think that's going to happen if he shows up. A matter of fact, I heard something else this morning, because I got several phone calls this morning telling me and assuring me this is real. This is an opportunity. They're not playing. They're showing up, and there are going to be people there interested in signing Colin Kaepernick to a football contract. I've been told, Max, he won't even be asked about the kneeling. He won't be asked about the protest. This is strictly football. He will not be asked about any of that stuff. That interview that I told you yesterday was so pivotal, so important. I don't know how real that is in terms of him not being asked, but I specifically received a quote this morning saying he won't even be asked about the kneeling or the protesting. It will be strictly where his focus lies in terms of football and whether or not he's ready to play football. That is it. So to me, assuming all of those things are real, there is absolutely no excuse whatsoever for Colin Kaepernick not to show up. And I think that every time somebody like Eric Reid opens his mouth, it's providing an excuse for him not to show up. Oh, it's phony. It's a PR stunt. I understand you saying that, Max. I understand you and others might be saying that because obviously we're cynics and skeptics, and we get all of that. But for a football player to be protesting and kneeling with Colin Kaepernick, that, oh, by the way, obviously has an issue with the NFL, while playing in the NFL, getting a check from the NFL as we speak, to sit up there and say, well, you know what, it's a PR stunt. I got news for you. Why would Eric Reid feel that way? You in the NFL, you took a knee, you protested, and you ain't Colin Kaepernick. You ain't as good as him. He could play. Eric Reid could play. Don't get me wrong. But he's not as good as Colin Kaepernick. So if you got a job in the NFL, why is it not plausible that Colin Kaepernick could indeed get a job if the NFL is going to show up and have the workouts?
Time will tell. It always does. I want to start off with a word that you use, cynical. I am cynical. There's a difference between being cynical and pessimistic. I like to think that I'm optimistic, but I'm cynical. In other words, I'm not just going to believe everything you're telling me, but I hope it's true, and I'd like to think that we could work toward something that's good, right? That's basically the point of view of an optimist who's nevertheless cynical. I want to talk about a few things here. Am I optimistic or pessimistic? I'm pessimistic in this case about Kaepernick in the league. Now, what does that mean, Stephen A? It doesn't mean that he won't get a job necessarily, but I wonder, does he keep the job? And there's some things that tip me off to feeling this way, not just the mysterious way this whole thing was handled, but when you said yesterday that you'd been told that even if he throws it into the stands, as long as he just shuts up, he's going to have a job. Well, why would that be? Wouldn't it matter how he plays?
No, I said he has to make sure. I said short of throwing the football.
Okay, short of.
He has to show he can play. I never said that.
Right, but still, in other words, like, boy, you have really got to be awful not to be in the league. Well, that to me that to me seems predetermined that he's going to wind up in the league. Well, why would that be? Once he's in the league, is he going to stay there? In other words, is there something in the settlement? Is there some piece of business with the CBA, some lawsuit, some TV contract? Like, I don't know. But is there some big thing where the NFL needs to we got to make sure he's on a roster somewhere, at least for a little while? That's what I'm, let's not say pessimistic, let's say, as I said earlier, cynical about. Wait a minute, I want to talk about something that Dominique Foxworth said yesterday, because I thought it was a very good point.
Okay.
The reason the whole thing seems mysterious to me, and maybe this kind of answers some of my cynicism, is we think of the NFL as this monolith. It has one point of view. But in fact, the NFL is composed of 32 different owners. And even though many of them think in similar ways, I'm sure there are opposing points of view. And there are probably opposing forces as it relates to Kaepernick that are playing themselves out in a way that where publicly now we're like, that's curious. Why would they do it this way? Maybe that's to appease all parties, right? You said something about, and this relates to Eric Reid. You talked about Eric Reid and talking about this one selling out and that's one selling out. There is, I agree with you, to address your point, a difference between selling out and compromising. Compromise is the way things get done. They say a good deal is one in which everyone's a little dissatisfied because everyone had to give a little to get a little. And if that's what's going on here, Stephen A., if what I'm seeing from afar, the reason it looks confusing from this distance is that there are compromises going on where Kaepernick, and to your point about Eric Reid, it doesn't mean everyone's selling out. It means people are trying to get something done. If there are compromises going on and Kaepernick will, whether or not he keeps his job, it will be based on the merits and only the merits of his play, then I will be happily wrong about my cynicism. And then that's great. But I want to see Kaepernick judged on the merits. If he gets a job, does he hold it? Does he keep it if he deserves it?
The bottom line is this, man. Okay? Colin Kaepernick and his people have sworn up and down he wants an opportunity to play in the NFL again. This is an opportunity. The teams are scared to bring him in for exactly the kind of nonsense that we're talking about right now. Think about this here. The NFL goes against its own grain because the only time they have any kind of organized workouts or anything is at the NFL scouting combine. For the first time in its history, they are conducting a workout for an individual player as a league. This is a league that's made over $10 billion in revenue over the last year. This is a league that had moved beyond the Colin Kaepernick stuff. We were talking about Mahomes and Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson and Russell Wilson. Not only do you have star quarterbacks in the league, they're all black. All of them. Right now, I'm not talking about Drew Brees and Tom Brady, of course, and Aaron Rodgers, but Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, okay? These guys, Patrick Mahomes, they're all black. All of them. And we were talking about them. Nobody was thinking about Colin Kaepernick. The NFL comes into the mix and they say, okay, behind the scenes, and I have no doubt Jay-Z and Rock Nation have everything to do with this, okay? You're talking to the owners over a span of months, and half of them don't give a damn about Colin Kaepernick. The other half do. And as a result, they said, okay, we're going to provide individual teams cover, because what they don't want is what the Eric Reeds of the world are lurking and waiting for. Oh, we brought him in. We don't want him, but it was a PR stunt. We don't want as an individual team to be accused of that. So all of us collectively are going to hide behind the shield, see what he's got, and then we'll step out front and make a decision. It's entirely plausible that stuff would go down like that. Eric Reed is a smart brother. He knows that. But because he's so busy hating on the notion of anything involving Colin Kaepernick, everybody, Malcolm Jenkins is a sellout. Jay-Z, it's a despicable act. You know, all of this other stuff.
He should Eric Reed should reserve the right to be cynical until he sees the proof from the league as it relates to Kaepernick. And if he gets it and he's still talking about Kaepernick and this and that, then I'm with you. But until we have the evidence, until Kaepernick has a job.
You can be cynical all you want to. Ain't nobody, there's no problem with that. But you have to admit it's an elevated level of vitriol he is aimed in the direction of specific individuals. This is what you're doing while you're getting a check from the NFL, and you kneeled.
I mean, we need more time on this subject. There's much more to get into, Stephen A. I just want to mention, you personally are hearing 22 teams will be there. ESPN is reporting 8 teams. Yeah, I'm hearing the ESPN's reporting Lions, Dolphins, Falcons, Bucks, Broncos, Redskins, Cardinals, and Cowboys. But again, you specifically are hearing 22. And I just want to clear up something that you said earlier, because I know you're getting a lot of information and have a lot of thoughts going on at once. When you were saying that Colin Kaepernick's a much better player than Eric Reed, you were talking about when he was in his prime. Obviously, we know Eric Reed's Eric Reed's a starter right now, and Colin Kaepernick, we're not sure if he would be a starting quarterback. Just want to get that out there. All right.
I'm talking about from years ago.